Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Adam Smith, and inside this game overview and gameplay video, I'm really looking forward to showing you Hitman, the board game in action from Mood Publishing. This one is landing on GameFound. You can find the campaign page link in the pinned comment and video description. Now, for those of you out there that have not had a chance to check out my prototype unboxing, which went through all the components that came inside the prototype, which here set up on the table as we head into a mission, which we'll talk about in a second, is all in its prototype form. Everything is subject to change. Nothing is final. Hitman, the board game, is of course a board game adaptation of Hitman, the renowned digital stealth action game series, which many of you are likely familiar with, where you take on the role of a notorious assassin, carrying out contract kills on prestigious and nefarious targets. You can choose to stealth your way through the game to victory or go in guns blazing. The choices are up to you. When playing with multiple people around the table, you'll all be controlling agents in an attempt to be the first person to eliminate the target, which is common to everyone. When playing solo, the target is still your main objective, but other things can add into the equation to give you opportunities to go after secondary objectives and secondary opportunities that can crop up through additional rules. During setup, whether playing solo or multiplayer, you're going to choose your location and your target's board will sit in a recessed area on the location board, tying them both together. In the base game, the final version, you're going to have 4 locations to choose from and 8 targets. And all those in the base game will provide a lot of variability in terms of mixing and matching between the locations and the targets. The location board will provide some flavor text, setup instructions around icons, essentially letting you know how many of each icon you're going to see on the game board, unique actions that you can take when using this location, and below what special character or characters is part of the equation. Now, the target dashboard is double-sided. On the one side, we have some flavor text for this target, setup instructions in terms of how we're going to set up the game board, which I've already gone ahead and done, and below, unique target spaces, which are room tiles for this individual. The press room, office, and cocktail bar are the 3 things that are brought into this setup. So essentially, you shuffle these tiles together, you randomly place them face down on the main board in 3 designated spots, and then flip them over. So it's going to randomize their position every time you play. After setup is complete, flip over the target board. You'll find more gameplay-specific information like the unique target trait. This individual tries to seek and attract crowds and has a strong bodyguard. And then it talks about gameplay and how Victor, as well as the bodyguard, will be moving around the game board. Now, our target here is unarmed, and when this target witnesses an illegal activity by any player character, he immediately moves 3 spaces and tries to get as far away as possible. So he's not going to come after us. He's going to try and get away from us, and that's going to present problems with all the other guards and individuals around. And then below it says, whenever he moves and ends his movement, the bodyguard will always move to the same space as him unless specified otherwise. There are some cards in there that will tell you to do different things at different times, so it really shakes up how things pan out. And probably most important of all is the last sentence that says the bodyguard moves after Victor. Spaces rigged with traps will eliminate Victor before the bodyguard. So Victor will always move first. And if he happens to move into a space with a trap, he is going to be taken out. The bodyguard will not be the one taken out in that situation. The event deck is created as a combination of the location you've chosen as well as the target you've chosen, shuffling cards together to create that event deck. Now onto the Paris location board, which I've already gone ahead and set up to about 90%. I have a couple more steps to go through with you guys. I just want to talk about this at a high level, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty as we get into the gameplay. But essentially, the setup of this is going to be a pairing of what's illustrated in the rulebook as well as what's on the target dashboard we looked at earlier. So that pairing of location again and target is what is going to situate the board, and mixing and matching things will change up the dynamics of the mission and the different individuals and where they're placed. Now, to start the game, if you're playing multiplayer, everyone will start with an agent in one of the starting spaces on the 4 corners. However, if you're playing solo, you'll be starting in the red tide icon at the main entrance in this case. Now, you might have noticed a number of these yellow tokens all around the game board. These represent loot tokens, and you'll know exactly where to place them and how many based on the icons on the game board. These tokens are placed face down normally, and they're more thematic that way as you have no idea what is in the given area. When you move into it, you get to collect it right away. You can also play for your first time with them face up, but that gives you a lot of advanced information. You can essentially go after the rooms that have the things you need in order to progress in a way you want to, whereas this way of doing things, much more thematic, much more difficult. Now, you likely noticed all the colored rings on the bottom of the standees. These represent the individual security clearance in given areas of the map. Now, they can move around as they please when they're moving throughout this area, but we cannot, because certain areas require certain levels of clearance or security or disguise in order to get into them. So for us to make that happen, we have to try and get a disguise by taking down somebody and then trying to put on that individual's base to allow us to access that area legally. You can still go into areas illegally, but of course that is going to draw a lot more attention than you probably want. So we'll talk about things at a very base level and get more into the details as we go along, but essentially I can move into areas legally that are the same color as my security clearance. So right now I'm allowed to be at the main entrance, I'm allowed to be in the hall, over here and over here. That's it. Essentially there's the bathrooms over there. That's basically it. I can go a little bit into the hallway, but no further than that. In order to go any further in, I'm going to have to try and disguise myself by taking down somebody who either works at this place or a guard, and that will allow me to take their base. And once I have their base, I can then legally move into these yellow bordered spaces. Now I can always illegally move into these spaces, but it's going to creep up the risk factor like crazy. So if you're going down the stealth angle, you're going to be wanting to swap disguises multiple times in order to get to these higher levels of security to gain you closer access to your target, who right now is sitting in the office and won't be just staying there forever. The event cards will have him moving around and doing different things within this location board. You'll see a track with footprints all the way around going through various different areas, and he'll be either going clockwise or counterclockwise. And at the start of the game, he'll be going clockwise, denoted by this right here, just a prototype piece of paper. But essentially, this can be flipped to the opposite side and change his movement pattern. You'll be trying to set traps in certain areas. You'll be trying to find him by himself and try not to draw attention while you assassinate him. So in summary, we have the employees as well as the yellow guard. These individuals at the same level of security clearance. We have the target. We have the bodyguard, which is in black. We have the red guards. There's 3 of them. You'll also see crowds. Crowds are useful because when you're in the space with a crowd, you're essentially known to be hidden. Now, I removed a guard to show you this, but there's many different icons in red here that you can use tool tokens in order to discard them to set traps in those areas, as I mentioned before. But again, if Victor's not the one to walk into that space, it's going to kill somebody else. At a high level, that's all you need to know. We'll get into more of the specifics as we get into gameplay. The last thing we need to do for setup is there's a number of these security tokens, which are mixed up face down and then placed in these various positions with the icon of the security symbol. At this point, now they're placed, we're going to flip them face up. In the prototype, there are 4 different security tokens. You have cameras, motion sensors, metal detectors, and locked doors, and they all have a specific icon. If the security token has a camera icon and you move through it, that's considered trespassing. The locked doors, you obviously can't move through at all until you open them up. These ones right here are alarms, and if you trigger these by moving through them without actually disabling them, you're going to have to discard 2 agent cards. And that final one up there with the dotted lines, which is way up north, that is a metal detector. So if you walk through there at any time with an item card, coin, or tool, you're going to trigger an alarm, discarding 2 cards. And in either case, for those 2 situations, whether it's motion detection or it's for the metal detector, it's random cards that you are losing out of your hand. Final thing to talk about is the agent we set up, and I've got Agent 47 here in the core game. There's multiple agents to choose from. Lucas Gray, for instance. You've got Knight and Stone, but I'm going with Agent 47. I've got some player tokens here. They're going to be white. You're going to see some other tokens up here in this area. I'm using them just to denote the usage of actions, which essentially you can track over here as well if you want. On the right-hand side, it lists out all the actions you can take, and you can take up to 3 of them on your turn. And then you have some cards to choose from, so you'll draw 2 cards off the agent deck, and you get to pick 1 to start the game with. I also have a coin here as well that looks like it's part of the game board, and almost is. And this is the coin I was referring to with the metal detector that would trigger if we walk straight through it. The coin is a useful tool as you can use it to throw and distract guards or draw individuals to certain areas. Here are the 2 cards that I drew up. I got What Is That Noise? This is an interrupting combat, so you can use it essentially for the effect that is here, or you can take advantage of the strength in the bottom left-hand corner. So you kind of have 2 varying usages on some cards, and other ones are just a single usage with no strength tied on the very bottom that you can choose from. So in this case, I can only do this. I can move 1 space with no climb, ignore security tokens, ignore witness check for this move. If you don't move again, you get to hide, and being hidden gives you a +1 strength. I'm going to choose to keep hidden move. I think this will be very useful off the start of the game. I've shuffled the other one back in the deck, and we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at the core loop of the game, which is pretty straightforward. You're going to draw an event card, resolve combat if triggered, play 3 actions, and end your turn. But if you're playing in the solo mode, before all of this, at the very beginning of the round, you're going to be moving something around a track on a separate sheet, which I'm going to show you in just a second. You'll also see different character reactions that can occur depending on if staff, guard, crowd, or targets are aware of your illegal activities. So as a nice reference, you can always see what different types of individuals on the location board will actually do if they notice your illegal activities. Certain actions can be taken legally or illegally, like when you're moving, for instance, depending on where you're moving to, and other actions that you take will just flat out be illegal every single time. And if anyone is within sight of you, they are going to trigger a reaction. So without further ado, let's dive into round number 1 of gameplay, and we know our target. We're going after that individual, and here is the solo mode dashboard. Now this is prototype. I printed it off. Basically, it has a cube letting us know that we're currently considered safe, but potentially could shift to risky or compromise. There are different definitions for each of these I'll talk about in a moment. Also, you'll see in the center here is a grid with interconnected circles in varying patterns with different little triggers that are around it. You'll also see a red cube and a green cube. Now these are not the final colors or even the way things will look in the final version. It's just all prototype for the moment. When you start off round number 1, you'll move your green token from the top of the stack down to here. It says all NPCs are yellow and red enforcers. So essentially what this means is that everybody that has a yellow base is essentially red as well. As I mentioned before, when you start the solo game, you're considered safe, and what that means, you're going to trigger only what is in the green area here. So basically, by moving this cube to here, this is the only effect we have to worry about. If you're in risky, you're going to trigger this, but you're also, at the very end of your turn, going to move a nearby individual, and that means somebody that is within 3 spaces of you. You get to choose if there's multiple. You're going to move them 1 towards you. And if it goes from risky all the way to compromise, you're going to go ahead and trigger not only the green, but also the red, and on top of it, nearby move of 1. So that's another individual within 3 moving 1. So basically, if you keep pushing yourself all the way to that final 1, it's going to be a pretty tough go for you because you'll have lots of things creeping on you. And you have to remember, you also have the event deck to worry about. And here's a full breakdown for each of the 3 in prototype form. So risky here says if you would ever use an attack action, you move the marker to risky. So essentially, if you ever do an attack in any way, shape, or form, you're going to go from safe down to risky, making your life a little bit more tough. If you want to go ahead and try to get back to safe, it mentions at the very bottom here in small letters right now, spend 1 action on a neutral or security room in order to go back to a safe position. So basically, if I run back to a white bordered area or the security room, I can reset back to safe. Even if I was at compromise, I could do the exact same thing, resetting myself back to safe. And you can see below that if any NPC ever reacts to you, you move the marker to compromised. So after adjusting the tracker cubes on the solo dashboard, we're now going to go ahead and draw our first event. And this is a Paris-specific event. It says new shipments for the palace. As the kitchen's a little busier as the palace restocks, new staff rotations and new equipment. Add a staff character to the kitchen space. Place a random loot token on any space with a guard but no agents. So we're going to place any staff we want in the kitchen space. I'm going to go ahead and choose the one that's in the museum to go there. And now I place a loot token face down next to any guard. The loot token comes from a reserve of tokens that were not placed during setup. I'll double things up in this room right here because I think I'll plan on going there in the future. Let's go ahead with our agent's 3 actions, and I'll explain them as I actually use them during gameplay rather than just taking you through all of them right now. Movement is probably the most common one. You can move 1 to 2 spaces when you move, and you can also supplement the move by using cards. These do not count as actions when used. So I need to be strategic with how I move and what I do, because if I just go running into a room, for instance, right now I have no disguise. So if I move from a white bordered area and I move into here, no problem. As soon as I move into here, I would trigger a reaction because I'd be making an illegal move into a yellow area when I don't have yellow on my base. I don't have a yellow disguise yet. So by moving into that space, I would trigger a reaction. And for staff, they're going to literally just disappear, run away, and you also have to lose an agent card. So what's bad about that situation is you don't get the opportunity to try and take them down and take their disguise off them. But as you remember from the very beginning of the game, I got what's known as hidden movements. What I'm going to do is spend 1 of my 3 cubes in order to move. I'm going to move 1 space to here, and as I move into this area here, I'm going to use hidden move. It says move 1 space, no climb, and what it means by no climb is there's certain icons on the game board that are climb icons. You can see an example of one up here. Essentially, that means you cannot use this in tandem with trying to climb up an area. That climbing allows you to get away from other individuals in the game state because they can't use climb like you can. So keep that in mind. More importantly, on the card, it also says ignoring security tokens. So if you were trying to get through a security area, this would allow you to sneak past it without having to worry about the nasty effects I talked about earlier. And it also says ignore the witness check for the move. This is huge. And the witness check is what would happen when you first move into this area. Normally, the witness check would happen, and of course, a reaction would occur, and this individual would run away. But because we have hidden ourselves in and we snuck into this room, we don't have to worry about anything. And then it says if you don't move again, you get to hide. So we're considered hidden. So thanks to that agent card, we were able to sneak into the room while this employee had her back to us. And as soon as we walked in, we gain what's in here for loot. And it's going to be, nice. If we discard this, we gain 2 agent cards. Now, if I didn't want to use that token I just picked up right away, I could always slot it into here, but I have no agent cards, and options are always a good thing. So I'm going to go ahead and discard it immediately in order to get 2 cards. The maximum you can have in your hand at any time is 4. We're going to go ahead and draw up 2 right now. So we got Hidden Move yet again, not bad, and Curiosity Killed the. We can move a guard, staff, or a crowd 1 space. Now, strategy-wise, as I mentioned before in the bottom left-hand corner, if you don't use the effect that's in the middle of the card, you can use it for its strength in the bottom left, and this matters when you make attacks. If I choose to attack in the future, I'm going to be using unarmed combat because I don't currently have any weapons attached. This is going to be a loud combat. Every combat attack in the game is considered loud unless stated otherwise, or you use an agent card to make it silent. And this is a strength of just 1 for unarmed combat, but if I was to discard this card as part of that combat attack, I can make it 2. Now, the actual employees, they're basically very weak, very easy to be taken down. You're successful in almost every case. The guards, however, have an actual icon in the top left-hand corner of their standee, letting you know their strength value. And it's not just what's on the standee, because you can see here 2, for instance, with a yellow guard. They will also, at times, when they react to you, draw from either the normal equipment or the elite equipment. If they're reacting to you, that's going to add even more into the equation. Something I caught which doesn't have any gameplay impact whatsoever is when I was talking about this track over here earlier, I left it on risky. It should be on safe still. I haven't done anything to push it to risky at the moment. Continuing on, I've got 2 actions. Now, I'm currently in this room. I'm hidden. The moment I move into this room, I also gain the loot tokens that are in this room. So I gain this token right here, flipping it over to see what it is, and it's going to gain me 2 agent cards. Not bad. Now, I can choose to hold on to that and put it on my dashboard and actually discard it to get the agent cards later if I already have, say, a total or maximum of 4. But as of right now, I have none because I used the 1 that I only had from the start of the game just to get into this space in a way that was hidden. So I definitely want to see what other agent cards I can get. You can see the loot token spaces here on the dashboard. We're going to go ahead and use this right now to get myself 2 agent cards. The top one off the deck is Change of Mind. It says flip the path direction marker. So that is going to be this marker right here in prototype form. It says clockwise is currently the target's going to be moving in a clockwise manner with the guard, and I can flip it to have it go counterclockwise. This can be used in order to manipulate where this individual is going to be headed and maybe set some traps and have them headed towards them. Move any red or yellow character 1 space. That's the other thing it can do. So we got that in hand, and the next card off the deck is going to be a silent attack. This sounds perfect for right now. It says do an attack action on your space. Treat the attack as silent. So instead of making noise, it's going to be quiet. Now, the reason that silent attack card is so handy right now is if I took a loud attack against this employee, the downside is it would trigger a character reaction, and for staff, they're going to be removed from play, and you discard an agent card. That's not what I want to have happen here. I want to try and get the disguise off this individual. So by doing a silent attack for my second action, so I'm taking an attack action, but I'm making it silent by using this card, I can do an attack action on my space, treat the attack as silent, so there is no reaction trigger, which means this individual doesn't leave, and we can actually take her down. We have a +1 strength because we are currently hidden. It doesn't even matter. That alone is enough to take her out. When an NPC is neutralized, you lay them over and also place your player marker on top of them, because if a guard happens to stumble across them, you're going to lose agent cards for that. And you're not going to want to have that happen very often, because agent cards, as you can see, are very, very helpful. Now, regardless of whether the attack was silent or loud, you're still moving this status from safe to risky. A silent attack is also really good from the purposes of having a guard in an adjacent room. They wouldn't be able to hear the attack because you did it quietly, whereas if it was loud, you would trigger their reaction and they would actually draw a weapon and come into the space with you and attack you on top of that. And if there's more of them in adjacent rooms, they're all going to dogpile into the same room and attack you. I've got one more action left. Let's take the action to disguise. It's an illegal action. So again, if someone happens to be in adjacent space or the same space and sees me trying to put on a disguise, that is going to trigger a reaction. So that means if a guard was standing right here and I was trying to put a disguise on, it would come in and fight me. But there's nobody adjacent to me. So a perfect time to take the base of this individual character, put it on myself, but the body remains there. In a perfect world, I have enough actions to do the illegal action of hiding the body, but I do not have the ability to do that. So the body remains right there. At this point, I burnt all 3 of my actions, but that does not mean my turn is over. I can still play cards from hand if I wish. These do not inherently cost an action to play, but some of them will enhance an action that, of course, you have to actually pay. So if it says something like it did with the move here, we can move silently, it has to be used as part of a move that you actually used an action for. Whereas something like Change of Mind, like I have in my hand, just allows me to flip the path direction marker, and I'm able to move any other red or yellow character 1 space. We'll hold on to that for later, but now at the very end of my turn, we go ahead and trigger the nearby move of 1, which means any guard that is within 3 of me, we get to choose, and it moves 1 towards me. I was actually tempted to move this one, which I did, and then took it back and decided to move this one instead. Solo mode phase is complete, event phase complete, and action phase complete. The final one of the round is the end phase. And in this phase, we go ahead and check to see if the bodyguard is in the same space as the target. If it is, that's all we need to do. If it isn't, it's going to move there. So in this case, the bodyguard is definitely in the same space as the target. Nothing to do. Round 2 begins, and we check this board down here, and now we have decisions to make. Now, the first round, we're told to go ahead and move the green cube to the bottom position, but from here, we now can move it either left or right, depending on what's connected. As long as we don't go back to the red cube, we're not allowed to move back to a space, and essentially that red cube is basically trailing our position every time we move it. So if we choose to go to this one here, which means for this turn, we can't take a distract action, this red cube will move to here. So essentially, it's kind of keeping you from basically double dipping on specific things within this grid. But also, again, if we get to a compromised position, it's going to trigger both of the things happening at the same time. And at certain points, that's going to be pretty nasty in combination, depending on how you've moved through this track round over round. So I could either choose to go to no distract action, or I could choose to go ×1 nearby, move 2 spaces. So 1 guard moving 2 spaces. I have zero desire to move any guards at this point. There might be a reason to do so in the future positionally, but for now, I'm happy to take no distract action for this round. And it's time to pull the next event, and it's called Time for the Press. This is a Victor-specific one. It says he'll stop for an interview if he arrives, and the cameras will do the rest. Move him and his bodyguard 3 spaces, but stop if he reaches the interview room. When started or reached the interview room, move the bodyguard 1 space. Now, Victor is currently inside of his office here, and the press room is way over here, and he's moving clockwise, so he's going to be going along this way. There's no way with 3 movement he's going to make it there, but he'll move 3 regardless. So he moves through the dressing room, into this room right here, and then finally into this room here, and the bodyguard follows suit. If he was closer to the press room in a different situation, maybe he's here, he'd move 1 and 2, and he would not go 3 spaces. He'd stop in the press room for his interview, and the bodyguard that's here would just move 1 space, staying outside of the press room. The event's result is back to us. We got 3 actions. Let's go ahead and spend 1 action right now in order to probably hide the body, to be completely honest. So we'll get rid of this. I'm going to spend my second action in order to move. We're going to move 2 and go 1, 2 to grab this loot up here. See what's inside. We got ourselves, ooh, that's nice. I'll keep that poison token for now inside my tool area. We can find things like crowbars, wire cutters, screwdrivers, for instance, and these tools can be used to do things like sabotaging a space, removing security tokens, and when you sabotage a space, essentially you're setting up a trap. You can cause distractions by throwing the tools, similar to the coin that I have there, and you can fulfill agent card effects with certain tools that you have as well. Now, here's where things get interesting. Now, I can move into a yellow space right now with no issue. I could even move right into the same space as this guard, and he won't even think anything of it because of my disguise. However, I do want to start preparing for the future, so I think doing a scout action is a good idea. This is an action I can take to draw a card from the agent deck because I don't really have much working for me in my hand at the moment. So this one here says Old Safe. It says discard a crowbar to draw a yellow card. That could be huge. The yellow cards are equipment cards. So if I can find a crowbar, I can pry that thing open and I can get myself something that's more beneficial than unarmed combat. Now, as I end off my turn right now, I could have, instead of drawing that card, chosen to spend an action while in a white border space to move the marker on my solo board back to safe. I chose not to on purpose because I'm going to be able to activate a guard nearby. For one, I'm going to have this guard move closer to me. Bodyguard is with Victor, so we're good there, and that's going to wrap up round number 2. Let's head into round number 3. Now, as you can see on the path that I've chosen, this time, instead of having 2 choices like last time, I only have 1. I can't use agent cards this time. That's no good. And the event card is called VIP on the Move. It says technical staff are showed aside as the main celebrity of the show makes his entry. Move helmet 1 space. Distribute loot tokens on empty yellow loot spaces with no agents. And that's slightly unfortunate because we've only uncovered 1 loot token so far. If we had more off the board, this would be really beneficial, but it's going to bring back 1 loot here, and this individual right here is the one moving from the dressing room to the AV area. Now, this is where the game starts to branch out, because if you're using advanced rules, which I would definitely recommend when you're playing the game, you're going to have a little bit more going into the experience from the very beginning, which I have not added into the equation yet, but I'm going to right now. Now, what I'm referring to is known as advanced modules within the game. I won't be introducing these fully into the experience, but I want to show you them because they'll be massive additions into gameplay, and I think they're very cool and thematic. So first off, you'll have a deck that is known as the Global Opportunity deck, and then you'll have another deck that's location specific. You're going to start at the very beginning of the game, if you're using these modules, drawing one for the location, Paris in this case, and this one says Paris Opportunity, and one Global Opportunity. So I'll show you the ones that are inside the prototype right here. And this one right at the very top says Eliminate Helmet. This is the individual that just showed up right there just before the catwalk. And this is the individual on this opportunity card that says to eliminate this person and hide the body. In combat, you get a +2 strength on red and blue spaces. So these are opportunities that you can actually go after. 15 seconds of fame and to move on the catwalk space while wearing a red or blue disguise. This one here, the sick drops is eliminate any character with a trap, and then a private meeting, wear any disguise while at a certain space with any non-agent character. So these are cool things you can do as secondary objectives beyond going straight after the target. So again, you'll take one of those location ones randomly, not knowing which one you're going to get. And also you'll have global ones you can go after as well. You'll draw one at random and you'll have that to go after too. And there's other effects that are going to be added into the equation when using these opportunities, all detailed in the rulebook. These are extremely cool. I'm keeping them out of the equation for now because I want the focus of the video to be us going after the target. But I thought seeing as the special character for this location is on the move, you'd like to know what exactly and why he's important in general. There's also some talk about him on the location board. You'll see down here on the location board, it says to place him in the dressing room, which is where he started, and he can only move to blue spaces, which is why he can only move to the space I moved him, which is the AV room right before the catwalk. It says he cannot be distracted, and its reaction says he does not react to players. So to sum up opportunities as part of the advanced modules, essentially global opportunity cards improve the existing actions, which you saw like the +2 strength for being in specific spaces of color. And then the location opportunities, those are going to offer you new and sometimes unconventional ways to deal with various challenges that the missions will present you. And if that wasn't enough, inside the advanced modules, when using opportunities, you also have a tie to ICA equipment, which you can gain, giving you creative ways to deal with situations inside of the game as you go through with stronger weapons and just really interesting gear that you've seen from the video games. Jumping back to the actions phase, I was thinking about going after this guy, but actually I'm kind of wondering if I should head through here to the museum and get these 2 tokens just sitting here. I think that's a good idea. So let's go ahead and use some movement here. We'll go 1 and 2, and then we'll go 1 and 2. So that's 2 actions burned. We immediately gain these when we walk in. Nice. We got a crowbar and wire cutters. Well, let's go ahead and use the old save card that I got in my hand here. Again, this does not cost an action to play this card. Discard a crowbar to draw yellow cards. We'll get rid of one of the crowbars, the only crowbar that we got, and we're going to go ahead and draw a yellow card, giving us something. Hopefully something, an item we can use. We got ourselves a baseball bat. That's awesome. So this one has a strength on it of 2. It is usable infinity because, well, it doesn't have any bullets in it or anything like that, and it's loud, of course. We'll place that in here, and now we've got a strength 2 weapon instead of the strength 1 unarmed. They're both loud anyway. This is just better. I'm just going to rejig how I spent my actions here. I've got 1 action left. So what I'm going to do is from the original move, I went to the hull and stopped, and then I took another action to get to here. I'm going to go ahead and spend my second action while I was in the hull in order to bring myself back to a safe status on the solo board and then move in here to grab the 2 tokens. And that's going to finish off my turn. That's going to do it for the round, and we're in a safe status. Now on the solo track here, I got 2 options this time. Guards always draw weapons, or 2 times individuals are going to move 1 space that are nearby. So I'm probably going to go with this one. I'm actually kind of okay if they draw a weapon. I might be able to take it off them if I take them down. The event card here is called Highlight of the Show. It says the guards are repositioning around the catwalk. Thankfully, the pillars make for excellent cover. Move any red, yellow character 1 space. If you end a move action on a space adjacent to the catwalk, draw 2 agent cards. I'm going to actually go ahead and move a red character. We're going to move this guard into this area right here. Now, I could have chose absolutely anybody, but getting somebody a little closer to me that I could potentially take out in the future to gain access to that red level of security could be a good thing. Now, inside this turn, I want to get a little bit more freedom with my agent cards, and I want to hopefully get something that'll help me with this individual down here, because if he's going to draw a weapon, he'll be 2, which is on his standee, plus whatever he gets for a weapon, which will bolster things, and I want to have a little bit more. I've technically got 2 and a 1 here. I could discard this. That'll be a total of 3. So that would actually work so long as his card he gets is only a 1. I think I need to make sure that's going to be a little bit better. So let's scout right now, draw a card, and we got Weapons Locker, discard a wire cutter tool to draw a yellow item. Not not bad. I do have one. Now, the kicker is I could keep using these cards for this, but then I'm not using these tokens as distractions or potentially for taking down different security areas or potentially pairing with cards in the future that I run into. So there is kind of a gamble as to whether or not using them at the right time. But I'm going to do it in the hopes that I get something really nice. Let's go ahead and draw the top card off the deck, and we got ourselves a folding knife. Okay, this is interesting. It's a so it's the same strength as being unarmed, but the bonus is it's silent. This could be handy. And you know what? I think I'll go ahead one more time and scout once more to draw another card from the deck. I want to see if I can get a little bit more before I head into this space and try to take him down and get those tokens. This one's called Hidden Move. Move one space. I get to ignore the security check, although it doesn't really matter right now because I'd be moving into a space with a disguise that matches and I'd be fine that way. But I would be considered hidden if I don't move again. Having the folding knife and having the same disguise level as a security guard, I can walk right in that space, no problem. My final action here will be to move. We'll move two, and we'll take both of these the second we walk in the room. We got a wire cutter and a crowbar. That worked out nicely. That wraps up my turn, and I'm still considered safe, and I haven't triggered any reactions at this point, which is good news. We have no bodyguard that needs to move to the target at the moment, so that's the end of the round. As we go into this new round, it's going to be interesting because I have to go along the path in this direction. There's no other option. It says all NPCs have +1 alertness. So alertness is essentially what is on here. I might have said it was strength prior. Strength comes off of the weapons. So it's basically a combination of alertness level and your strength level kind of combined for the enemies. So basically they're going to have a +1. At the end of the day, it's all strength. So it's going to be +1, +2, and then whatever he draws on top of it. But it won't draw anything anymore because we moved past that space and I can actually pull off an attack in a silent manner. So he's going to be a 3 now to deal with. So I could be loud if I wanted to, allowing me to use my bat for 2 plus discarding this card for 3. But he's already at 3, and being loud means he would draw a card and add that in, which would probably push him higher than 3, and then I'd end up losing. So I don't want to do that. If I stay on the quiet side of the equation, 1 + 1 is only 2, and he's a 3 right now from the +1 alertness, so I need to keep digging. I need to just keep scouting through the deck to find something that'll boost my attack here so I can make it worthwhile. And I got one here, so I can go ahead and use that. Perfect. So now we're going to go ahead and use an attack. So let's go ahead and do that. And this attack is going to be silent, which will be good. So there's no card being pulled in terms of equipment for him. It's going to be a 1 damage from the folding knife. And we're going to discard this card using the bottom left and this card for a total of 3 strength. And that's going to match what he is and takes him out. And with the guard dealt with, let's go ahead and just hide the body to ensure that no other guards happen to come across this thing. So we'll spend our final action here to do that. And we don't have to worry about anybody else in this situation, which is great news. Now, I did attack somebody, so that's going to move me to the risky state. And at the end of my turn, which it is right now, unless I want to pull off anything else, which I don't, then we're going to have a nearby move of 1. And then most nearby guard, well, it doesn't matter which. It can be either of these two that are over here currently are the closest to me. And actually, 1, 2, 3. No, this one's actually 5 away. But this one is 1, 2. No, actually, that's not going to work either. 1, 2, 3. None of them are actually. So there's not a guard nearby that's able to actually activate for this right now because we cleared things out. That's another round down. At this point, we can go to the 2 times nearby, move 1 space, or we can go to the ×1 nearby, move 2 space. In either case, it doesn't matter, so it probably matters more about where I want to go afterwards because none of these will trigger anyway. So I'll stick to the outside edge, and we're going to go ahead and draw an event card and see what is coming at us. And we've got what card at the top of the deck here? Interesting, betrayal. So he's worried about being betrayed. It says to move him and his bodyguard 1 space, all agents in the same restricted space as him, discard 1 agent card. So it appears he is slowly making his way towards the cocktail bar. There is a wall right behind this individual here in the AV area, so he's going to move to here and the guard with him. And that's going to do it. We got our 3 actions back. Let's see what we can do to progress. We're going to probably start heading north at this point. Now I'm seeing an opportunity opening up here, and that's with this trap right here or this trap right here. We've got an opportunity to potentially get into these rooms. We can go into either one of them. Actually, no, this one is red. So if we go in there, that's not going to be good. But this yellow one we could, and we could set a trap in there. So that actually might not be bad. Victor would have to move all the way through and around the press room and come around through to land on that. And if somebody else moves in that space before him, they get taken out. So that's kind of the fun of it as well. So you can purposely set a trap and then obviously use cards to kind of move guards into those areas to be taken down, but then you've got bodies incapacitated in areas which are probably going to cause a stir. So how should we play this? I think I might want to try and get rid of the guard that's in this hallway. I'm having a little bit of regret for moving the guard, the red guard, into this area here because he's adjacent to the space where the trap is. If I run in here and illegally try to set up the trap, because it's always illegal to do that, that's going to trigger his reaction. So I need to get him out of that space or I need to deal with him. I'm going to choose to burn 2 actions to get into that spectator floor area, and I'm going to use my coin that I have to distract this individual. Now, distract is a legal action, and it does not cause any kind of reactions. A player can choose a space up to 2 spaces away from them, move one adjacent NPC to that space, and a player can also distract a bodyguard on a space with a target path printed on it, unless specified otherwise. So in other words, you can actually mess with the bodyguard as well that's trailing behind the target. So I'm essentially throwing my coin 2 spaces, 1, 2, and then an adjacent NPC can move 1 space. So I'm going to have that individual go right into the space where the coin was tossed, which essentially is right here. So we're going to go ahead and discard this coin for now, but now he's far enough away that he's not going to react, and I'm sitting right next to this. Now the downside is I'm currently still in a risky situation, and that might actually entail, actually, am I in a good spot here? 1, 2, 3, no, I'm not. Oh, that's going to move the guard there. That's not good, but you know what? We might just have to deal with him before we set the trap. So obviously I have to pick somebody within 3 spaces, and I'm not going to bring him that I tried to get out of there back in the equation. I'd rather have him come, and I'll see if I can take him down. That's going to wrap up another round. Let's head into the next one. We only have 1 choice this time around. Going to all NPCs are yellow and red enforcers. The event card this time is called Nice to See You. Move Victor and his bodyguard 2 spaces, and if he reaches an empty space, move any crowd to his space. Now, if he moves 2 spaces right now, he's going to end up in the same area as the red guard, as the footsteps are going to go into this cocktail bar area where there's a crowd already. He's going to move into here too, and the guard, of course, is going to follow after him. He didn't move into an empty space. There was a red guard in there, so no crowd being moved. But if he had got 1 space further, a crowd would have followed him. And I haven't really touched on crowds that much yet. Let's talk about them. So first off, players cannot directly use any of the available actions on crowds themselves. Players are always hidden when in the same space as crowds, and players cannot use the attack action on any character when in the same space as crowds. And so this particular target loves having crowds around him in most cases. So most of the time through the event cards, as you'll see as we go through, there's going to be crowds gathering near him. But again, remember for the event deck, it's a mixture of the location and the actual target in terms of event cards. So sometimes you won't see some of those cards for a while, then all of a sudden a bunch of them will show up and you've got crowds around him for quite some time and you're waiting for your moment. Into my actions phase, I want to set this trap, but this guard is going to see me do it, and that's going to draw him in for an attack, which I don't know I really want to have happen at this moment. So I think, now here's the thing, the crowds are not going to react to me in any way, shape, or form. He doesn't react to me in any way, shape, or form. He's too far away. So if I was to draw him in, and have him have an equipment card be drawn. I don't know what that's going to add on top of him, but I certainly don't have enough to probably get over the hump at the moment. So maybe before I do this, let's go ahead and do some scouting to draw some cards and see what I can get. Maybe I'll get a card that can help me out in this situation. We got this. Check this out. This is perfect. Discard a poison tool to remove a guard from your space. Draw an item card matching the type of guard. I'm definitely making a move action right now to get in the same space as that individual, and I'm going to go ahead and use this. I'm going to discard that token using chloroform. I'm going to take that individual down. Spent the action to move, used the card, discarded the token, moving my character into the space to take him out. Now, there is absolutely no way I'm going to leave the body sitting right there at all, so we're going to go ahead and hide it. Now, you might be wondering, well, how does the crowd react to what they might have seen? The crowds are so busy mulling together in the area that they're in, they don't actually see anything outside their space. They just prevent attacks inside the same space. So again, even though there's a doorway here, there's definitely walls up and there's areas for me to go ahead and take down that guard without the crowd seeing. With the body hidden, that's going to end off my turn. I'm still in the risky status, which means a guard within 3 is going to move 1. I actually have 2 guards within 3 to the left and to the right of the board. I'm going to move the one on the left. There's another guard on the equal opposite side of the board. So you can see 1, 2, and 3 away. So we're going to move this individual here. That's another round in the books. Let's go on to the next one. Moving the solo marker. Let's go. Let's actually do no distract action. I don't plan to use it. The next event card has landed. It's Victor's Entourage, and it says he's going to move, and the circus is going to follow him. He's got them right where he wants them. We're going to move him and his bodyguard 1 space, and move any crowd to his space. So Victor's going to head for the stairs here, and his bodyguard is going to follow suit, and a crowd is also going to follow suit. We can move any crowd to this space. Let's go ahead and move the crowd that's in the hall area all the way over here. Now this is the turn I've been waiting for. Let's go ahead and spend an action to move. That'll get us into the same space as the trap. And then we're going to go ahead and set the trap. This is awesome. So we're setting the trap. This is an illegal action, but again, nobody within proximity of one space is seeing this at the moment that is going to react in any way, shape, or form. So we're going to go ahead and discard the matching tool, the wire cutters here, cutting the chandelier and setting up a trap situation. So we basically have something that's going to fall at a certain point. So once we actually set a trap, we take a player marker and just place it next to it. So the next individual, whether it's a guard that comes in there or anybody else, is going to be taken out. Now, a crowd can't be taken out by a chandelier to my knowledge, but anybody else can. Now, while we're in this area, we might as well set up multiple traps if we can, or start messing around with different areas. So let's go ahead and use a move action because we're able to be in this area at yellow. And let's head over here and check out what's in this room here. We got ourselves, nice, a drawing of the agent card. Let's go ahead and discard that and do it right now. Let's see what we get off the top of the deck. It is going to be the card Hidden Move. We like this one. Moving one to a space with no climb. Ignoring security tokens. So that allows me to get past one. Ignoring witness check for the move. And I get the hidden bonus on top of it. As I end off my turn, I have to move a guard that's nearby within 3. And I was thinking it might be this one here, but it's 1, 2, 3, so it's still 4 away. Now, it has to have a clear path through, and I also believe that it cannot go through locked doors. I think it can go through everything else, like cameras, motion sensors, metal detectors. You can do that nearby through those spaces, but I think locked doors are locked for a reason, and those individuals won't go through them until you open them up, so you can't kind of count spaces through them. So what's kind of a problem right now is I believe the closest individual to me is unfortunately going to be the red guard, who's going to move into this area, and if he moves one more, he is going to get taken out, which might be good, but also kind of messes up my plan. That is another round complete, and the solo board will move because it only has one option to go to can't use agent cards. That is not good. This event card is called Show of the Year. It says move all crowds one space, add a crowd to the main entrance space. This is really interesting because I can kind of crowd control right now and move the crowds to different rooms away from where Victor is, which I'm going to do, and then another crowd will come in right here. All right, so the crowds are all shuffling around, and we have a new one at the main entrance. We probably need to deal with that red guard. Let's go ahead and take a scout action to get another card in hand and see what we get. The card off the top is Handy Hitman. It says when on a space with a rigged trap, replace the trap marker with your own. And the ability on the Handy Hitman is not that great, but the strength is amazing. The strength of 2 to discard the card with an attack of the bat is 4, which is pretty great. This thing is a strength of 5. We need to keep digging for more cards. I can have as much as 4 in hand before I have to start discarding some. But let's just keep scouting and hope for something decent. See how it goes. Twice the effort, play during own combat, double the strength value of all agent cards you committed. Okay, that's insane. Or remove a security token from your, well, that is literally exactly what I wanted to see. That's insane. Okay, so that's a total of 4. We get 8. That's, I think I can actually bet on that. That seems pretty good. Do I want to attack and risk? I don't know what he's going to pull from his elite equipment deck. That's the only thing. Now, with one action left, I can't actually attack this turn because I need to move into his space, but I could actually move to be in a white bordered area to eventually move from risky to safe, which I probably want to do. And actually, that's exactly what we want to do because remember, crowd management, we have that nearby one movement for somebody that's within 3. So I don't want to be here because that means this guard's going to move and get killed. So let's go ahead and use a movement right now. We'll go 1, 2, getting ourselves really close to this guy. 1, 2, 3. So now when it triggers at the end of my turn, I can move this guard, thankfully, instead of that one going into the trap and dying. That was definitely close. Now let's go to the solo board here, and this says guards always draw weapons. Now we know if we go in there and we do the crazy attack we're going to do, it was going to draw a weapon anyway. We don't know what it is, but it's going to be something nasty. I'm sure it's coming from the red deck. So we're going to go ahead and just be okay with going up here rather than moving any more guards. I don't want to move 2 guards nearby one space. That's also going to cause a problem I don't want to have happen. So we're going to go ahead, guards always drawing weapons, and we have an event, so we have no idea what's coming off the top of the deck. This could throw wrenches into the scenario. I'm hoping everything works out. We have damn politicians. Based on somebody spilling the beans, we have to move Victor and his bodyguard 2 spaces, moving a staff to his private office to deal with the problems that have just been presented. So that's not too bad. We'll take a staff, I think, maybe down over here to the far right, and we're going to bring that to Victor's office. The staff member in Victor's office was originally over here, moving over there based on the card, and Victor's going to move 2 spaces along his path, so he's going to go here, and then here he's now in the kitchen with his bodyguard. And that is actually insane because if we go after this individual right now, he is far enough away to not react to my attack to him. That's crazy. I'm going to spend my first action to set my status on the solo board back to safe. My second action to move will go into this space, into this space. Again, I don't trigger the trap, just in case you were wondering that. And then the third action here is going to be to attack this individual. Now, I'm attacking with a bat, which is allowed. So we draw from the elite equipment to see what it is. This could be terrifying. Let's see what we have here. Oh, and actually something else here too. We are technically triggering this person's reaction. And so when we do, even though we're in a safe position on the status, we're going to be moving to compromise. But we'll check what that means in just a second. I don't think it's a good thing. And neither is that. That is definitely not a good thing. It says right on it here, cancels the agent's yellow or blue disguise. And for a second, I thought it might be getting rid of my disguise, but it basically means the disguise means nothing. So essentially, at this moment, I am now sitting illegally inside of this yellow area, which means if there's anybody adjacent to these areas that saw this guard-wise, they would come into the same space as me. And of course, other individuals like the target or the staff members could also see this illegal activity and also trigger as well. But in this case, where I'm currently standing, no impact. And the fact I was coming in, swinging a big bat, I was already making a lot of noise and knew it was safe. We're okay. Now, what is not okay is the strength off this gun, which is 3 on top of the 5 for a total of 8. Now, I actually have this matched based on what I have here, which is great news, but we have to check what compromise means because we just shifted to that the moment we made an attack. Now, the solo board says, for compromise, if any NPC ever reacts to you, you move the marker to compromise. So how does a reaction occur? There are 3 ways. I've touched on these prior, but essentially if you make an illegal move into a space with another enemy, and because it's an illegal move because your disguise does not match that level of security clearance, that's going to be a reaction. If a guard moves into your space and you're not in a space that is legal for your level of clearance, again, based on your disguise, that is going to trigger a reaction. And finally, if you do a loud attack against an enemy. So that's going to push this status all the way to compromised. And when this happens, it immediately means that you're triggering the green and also the red status on this. And you can see it says can't use agent cards. This just messed me over big time. Now, what's really important right now is the combat steps. There are 4 of them, and I'll go through all 4 of them right now so you understand how they're actually done in order. The very first one is to choose an attack, and by default, an attack is always loud unless specified otherwise. So some agents and items will modify the attack to be silent, as you saw me do in previous cases. This time, I went in with my bat, and it was fully loud. I did not grab a card that made it silent. I got enough strength behind it, and then went right in for the attack. Now, when this happens, the second step says, if it's a loud attack used, you follow the reaction rules, which again triggered this guard pulling a gun on me, adding some things into the equation because it wasn't silent. If it is silent, you just attack the guard as is. They don't draw a weapon, you're just attacking them. But the more important piece is it caused a shift of the status on the solo mode board, which impacted the use of future agent cards. And that's the next step of combat, which says you can play any number of agent cards for their combat effect found at the bottom of the card, or use the text instead when applicable. So I was going to use some cards that were going to bump up my attack, and now I can't. And so unfortunately, because I carelessly went in here, even though I had enough strength to take this individual down with all the agent cards I had, because I'm compromised in solo mode at this moment, even though I have equal strength, I have no longer the ability to use agent cards. And unfortunately, I have lost this combat, which means I would flee. And in this moment, that means I lose the game. That was super close, as Victor was just about to turn the corner. He was 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away from landing on this space right here and being killed off. The second he moves in there, he dies and we win. So we were very, very close. But that one oversight on going to the compromise status in terms of my plan to go in there and kill that guard got me. Now, I played this game off camera numerous times. It had very different plays every single time because the event cards throw so many different variations of things in terms of how the crowds move and how Victor moves and where he goes and what he does. It makes it replayable like crazy. I'll show you some of the other event cards that we did not see so you can see how variations can happen. Like some of them say move a crowd to the terrace. There's an ongoing effect. Now, ongoing effects are something we didn't actually see. If you get one of these events in your draw deck, and there's actually a bunch of them here, they just didn't come through. But if you get one, you essentially put it into play and it stays there until it gets discarded. Most of the events we got were discarded immediately. This one here is center stage. It talks about moving Victor and then moving all crowds to spaces adjacent to him, so surrounding himself. There's a bare knuckle boxer one here. There's so many different really cool events that I've seen outside of this play that have really shifted the way that this location and this target actually interact with each other. So you can easily replay this multiple times using the same setup of location and target and get very different experiences every single time and a challenge every time you do it. Plus, if you add those opportunity cards into the equation, that's going to ramp up even more things you can go after. Now, this prototype is just a snippet of what's being offered and the gameplay, and what's really awesome is just how fast the turns actually move. When you're playing solo, really the core loop is as specified on the card here with just the addition of the solo mode board below, which is a very quick step and a quick decision in amongst the four here, and really the end of turn is very fast. So essentially you're drawing your event, you might have some combat going on depending on things happening, you draw 3 action cards, you continue on. So it's just the core loop of the game is just very quick and speedy, and I like that. For a game of this size, typically things can drag a bit, but this one just moves nicely. Now, as I mentioned before, everything here is prototype and subject to change, so they're still actively taking feedback. If you see or think of anything that you'd like to add into the equation, feel free to throw it into the comments down below. I'm sure they'll be reading them. And that, my friends, wraps up my game overview and gameplay video for Hitman, the board game from Mood Publishing. If you're not part of the Discord server or the Facebook group, we'd love to have you in either or both those locations. We're talking about solo games past, present, and future. And also, if you enjoy what I do here on the channel and it helps you to find solo games of interest to you or get games off your shelf and to the table that much easier, check out the join button on the main homepage for the channel. You can actually become a member and gain perks you can't get anywhere else. Thanks again for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.